Thank you for your patience while I dealt with burnout. We are now back to r/entitled people, where an entitled sister tries to force OP's child to be a flower girl for her wedding, and a lot of other things. So if you enjoy, like and subscribe and all that wonderful stuff. Now let's get started, shall we? Entitled boss thought she would rip me off. This happened several years ago, when I picked up a part-time job working at the mall. I had started working at the kiosk in the mall, selling t-shirts, ball caps, golf balls, etc. They had a catchphrase that read, "Shut up," and inserts a varied phrase from sport to sport. They sold well, but the owner and manager had the mall closed Monday through Friday. I showed up one afternoon for my shift, and the boss woman was there. I proceeded to put on my smock and get ready to take over, when she told me that she did not need me that day. No notice, nothing. I asked her when I should come back in, and she said that she was unsure. It happened to be payday, so I asked for my check, and she said that she did not have it done up yet, but it would be ready the next day. So I left and came back the next afternoon to collect my paycheck. She still did not have it ready, and I would have to come back again. This was not sitting well with me, so I went to the police in the mall and asked them what to do. The police did not have a lot to say, but said management at the mall might shut them down if they don't pay. I checked with mall management and they told me that I should see Revenue Canada. So I phoned Revenue Canada and made an appointment and went in a few days later. Revenue Canada was very helpful. I explained the whole thing to them, told them which mall this was at, and they made phone calls to the mall. Mall management cooperated, gave the name of the business, name of the owners, bank information, and everything. They went into the bank and froze the account, and then we all drove to the mall. They came and shut the business down, took all the inventory, and spoke to the owner. She handed me a check and I showed it to the Revenue Canada agents. They took it and photocopied it. She had apparently deducted so much money for 2 weeks of work, all in income tax. The revenue agents set up another appointment with me for the next week at their office. They took the income tax overture I paid and made sure it was turned into a credit so I would not have to pay more. Then they told me they are auditing them for 7 years, which effectively bankrupt them. It made my day, and many mall workers were smiling when they found out. It was definitely a screw around and find out moment. Well, that was definitely a feel-good story about sticking it to your boss. On to the next story. Entitled sister-in-law demands I make a kid who isn't related to her be my flower girl. I have no idea where to begin, but here goes. I'm a 21 female. I'm getting married in a few weeks. Well, a while back I asked my sister-in-law to be my bridesmaid. My fiancé warned me that she could be a tense and I was under no obligation to include her in the wedding party. But she had become nice enough and I wanted her to have a certain number of bridesmaids. I am now regretting my decision. Sadie has a boyfriend, Kyle. Kyle has partial custody of his ex's infant daughter. Not sure why, considering he's not related to her, but I never asked. Recently, Sadie had been on my case about picking a flower girl. I really wanted to be my friend's daughter since I have a fantastic relationship with her, and was actually in the room for her birth. I even refer to her as my niece. Sadie, however, didn't take this well. When I told her, she blew up and started ranting about how she'll ruin the pictures. My niece is neurodivergent and tends to get overstimulated when standing for long periods, so photos may be a challenge for her. I tried to explain to Sadie that my niece was practically family, and me and her mother have been making a plan to ensure that the photos won't be overwhelming for her. Sadie then took the opportunity to suggest Kyle's daughter. I explained to her that I was in the delivery room for my niece was born, and I wanted her to be a part of my big day, since my fiancé proposed. I thought that was that, until about 2 weeks ago. I got a special dress for my niece that looks like a cross between my dress and the bridesmaid dress. I was showing it to my family when Sadie gives me a gift bag. Inside was an identical dress, but for a baby. Sadie then confessed to snooping around my laptop to find the dress I chose for my flower girl, and took the opportunity to order one for her boyfriend's daughter. She then said both girls can be a part of my special day. When I said no, she started screaming at me because it was bad enough that her boyfriend wasn't a groomsman, and that I should want him to be a part of the family, especially since my wedding was for the whole family, not just me. She called me a selfish bridezilla and stormed out. I was able to calm her down by suggesting Kyle's daughter have a special dance with me at the reception. This seemed to diffuse the situation, and my fiancé apologized for not clearly communicating just how crazy she can get. Everyone's telling me it isn't my fault, but I have to know, am I the bad apple? No, you are not, OP. Update: Sadie was disinvited from the wedding by my fiancé due to how she treated me, and when her mom, fiancé's stepmom, got upset he disinvited her too. I also got a message from Kyle's ex threatening to sue me if I let her baby be the flower girl. Sadie told her that she would be the flower girl. I'm looking to hire security and maybe changing the venue without telling her, so she won't cause trouble. Yeah, that lady just seems out of her mind. Anyway, on to the next story. Entitled kid steals presents meant for special needs kids and gets punished. An elderly woman at my church bought expensive chocolates for the special needs members for Christmas. These were from a really well-known chocolate shop in my city. She purchased the gifts to honor her recently deceased grandson, who was also special needs. The presents were placed under the tree, the church set up, and all the presents would be gifted to everyone after the sermon. However, during the gifting, the woman realized the presents she bought for the special needs kids weren't gifted to them. She brought it up to the pastor, who had a few others search for the presents, which had specific white wrappings with gold ribbons. After a few minutes, they eventually found the presents, which were already halfway eaten by a few kids. Their parents were not happy with what the kids did and apologized. To punish the kids, the parents offered the gifts the entitled kids received to the special needs kids. This upset the entitled kids, who threw tantrums, resulting in them getting dragged back to the cars and being driven back home early. My mother communicates with the parents of those entitled kids, and from what she was told, the kids are still upset at being punished for stealing presents. None of them seemed to think it was wrong to steal from others, and blamed the special needs kids for getting them into trouble. Those kids gotta learn somehow, and this is how. Anyway, on to the next story. Being called entitled for changing my locks 2 years ago. This is a weird story that just happened over the weekend. I thought you all might enjoy it. So Saturday night, the missus and I are laying in bed, trying to go to sleep when I hear some noise from the back door. The storm door opens and slams shut. I'm not fully asleep yet, so I put on some pants and a shirt I can find, and grab my trusty shotgun. We moved to the mountainside, and most of the area is still wooded, and living in such conditions, wild animals are an issue. We have bears, coyotes, raccoons, and bobcats, to name a few. So as I'm moving to the back door, I hear a window break in the back garage. I look out and see someone breaking into my garage. I scream for the wife to call the sheriff's office. Around here, 911 doesn't work well for breaking in. We are connected with a couple of other counties, and it gets confusing for them. We get quicker response by calling them directly. I'm now in go mode, thinking some meth head is trying to score some tools for some quick cash. Got out of the house and noticed the person's truck is still running. I did the only thing I could think of and took the key out of the truck and put it in my pocket and waited for the deputies to show up. It took them 20 minutes to show up. One was a state police officer and the other was a local sheriff deputy who were doing radar 10 miles up the road. The wife and I know them both. With my gun in hand, I told them somebody was in the garage. I haven't approached it yet, but here's the key to the perp's truck. They go in, guns drawn, and out and deal with the situation. The dude was passed out on an old bench seat for an old truck I have by the tool bench. They wake him up and arrest him with little to no issues, other than him screaming profanities at them. They told me that I can press charges and come in on Monday to file the paperwork. He's not getting out anytime soon. On top of his breaking in, he's being charged with a DUI. Yesterday, I spent the day traveling to fix the window that this asshole broke into, since no stores are open Sunday in my local area. While in my travels, I'm fuming at the fact that I'm having to do this repair on a piece of junk door from the 70s. My wife was telling me to maybe let him go with a warning, but I'm having none of it. So this morning, I went to the sheriff's office. The same deputy was there that arrested the perpetrator. So I asked him how the ride with the dude was, and this is the version the officer gave me. The officer says, "Why did you break into the garage?" The perp says, "I was trying to get my stuff back, but someone changed the lock." You know they purchased the place from Kevin 2 years ago, right? What? That doesn't give them the right to change the lock without telling me. Yeah, they can. You ain't been in that house for like 4 years. And I was the one that got you out of that house because you beat the hell out of your old lady. That's twice I get arrested you on the same property. But he shouldn't be entitled to change the locks though. Where else am I supposed to go? A little backstory on the property. We purchased it from Kevin, who's a school board member, and gave us a decent deal on the property. He had the property as a rental for his nephew for a few years. When his nephew started walking in, his dad, footsteps, by getting drunk and beating his girlfriend at the time, he evicted him from the property 2 years before we purchased it. When he evicted him, he emptied the content of the garage as all scrap metal. He found out that Sunday morning when his uncle paid him a visit in jail. Kevin had other renters on the property after he sold it to us, because he didn't want the responsibility of it anymore. He's being charged with trespassing, criminal trespassing, breaking and entering, driving under the influence, and property damage of less than $500. That's one insane man, saying you can't change the locks on your own property? Oh boy. Anyway, on to the last story of the day. Entitled, "Friends," in quotation mark, asked us to sell my husband's card. Obligatory announcement. English is not my first language and I'm on mobile. So this happened around 7 years ago. My husband and I were dating for a year. He was invited to a wedding of his 2 friends from uni. Entitled girl was actually my husband's roommate for a year, and from what he told me, they were very close and friends with his parents too. So DH asked me to be his +1 to the wedding. We went, and it was a wedding where no money was saved. It was the garden, and an expensive hotel, think Hilton or something like that, with full course meals, lots of drinks, and so on. We were seated to a table far away from the bride and groom, not close to the family and friends tables also. DH didn't know anyone on the table. I was also a bit irked, but DH is a bit naive, so we gave our gifts and danced, and had a good old time. After the wedding, we learned the couple went to Maldives for a month for honeymoon. 2 weeks after the honeymoon, the entitled girl calls my husband and asks for a loan. He says that his father's company is not doing well, and due to some tax reasons, his father named EG as the owner, so he's in a lot of debt. My wife also doesn't have any savings, they just bought a car. Dear husband tells them that he doesn't have much, also he can only spare 1,000 euros, but no more. The entitled girl tells him to sell his car and give them the money. Dear husband comes and asks my opinion. He says they're in a bad place and so on. I'm like, oh my god, the audacity they have. And of course explained to him that they shouldn't have had such an expensive wedding if they had money problems. And why don't they sell their own car? At the end, he didn't give any money, and we never heard from them again. It still puzzles me though. How can you be so entitled to ask someone to sell your car to pay your own debt? Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the stories and all that good stuff. I'll see you next time. Hasta la pasta.